Hey, football fans, this is Gary Greene, longtime Las Vegas handicapper and professional sports bettor in Las Vegas for the past 35 years. And this is your NFL Week 10 Sunday night game of the week. And this is the bailout special game for everybody that loses their money on Sunday to try and get it back. This is going to be a very difficult game to bet, though. We have a super matchup between the Detroit Lions and the Houston Texans. The Lions, the road favorite, 3.5-point favorites here on the road, and the total 49 or 49.5. So we have kind of good news for one side and kind of bad news for the other. First, the good news for the Detroit Lions. They get their number 2 wide receiver back after a 2-game suspension, Jameson Williams, and I'll tell you a big stat of how badly they missed him in a second. The other side of it, though, is the Houston Texans, and they may be without their number 1 defensive player, Will Anderson, and he is one of the top 2 or 3 defensive players in the league. This guy is a beast, and he wreaks havoc, and boy, that's a gigantic loss. There's guys that you can lose. This guy is a difference maker, so tough loss if he doesn't suit up. For the Houston Texans, they're 4-0 at home, but they're just 1-2 this year versus winning teams getting outscored 75-52. When we look at the great matchup we have here tonight, and this is a chess match game, you have the Detroit offense, one of the 2 or 3 best in the league, number 1 scoring team in the league, and they're going to go against the Houston Texans defense. But again, stats a little bit skewed if Anderson doesn't play. But if he were to play, it's a big problem for the Detroit Lions because they are the number 2 team in pass defense. But the problem is nobody has been able to stop Jared Goff. The passing completion percentage is getting to a ridiculous number that you almost feel weird saying it because it's almost like it's impossible. I have to go back to my notes just to make sure, even though I know it's right because I really watch tape close. And he's had so many games. He had a perfect game passing the ball. He's had games really close to almost perfect so far. In fact, he's had a stretch of 83%. He's 73% on the year. These are numbers that are MVP, screaming MVP numbers, and there's no close second. You can say whatever you want about anybody else, Lamar Jackson, I don't care who you talk about. No way, no how. Right now, at the midpoint in the season, Jared Goff is the MVP in this league. When we look at the facts, though, Jameson Williams, when he's in the lineup and when he's not, and when he wasn't in the lineup for the last 2 games, Goff's completion percentage went from 12.6 yards per catch all the way down to 7.7 yards per catch. And the one game against Tennessee with the big score, if you just look at the final score, extremely off base because it wasn't even close to that. In fact, their offense was terrible. Goff had 86 yards passing. So, they're going to need to get back on track. But that just shows you what one player being out of a lineup can do. When we look at the deep option that Williams brings, that's the difference maker because once they can put the show on a deep pass and that creates the defense to have to play a safety back instead of maybe loading the box and slowing down the run. They will need to do that because the Detroit Lions have rushed the ball for over 100 yards in 8 straight games. But this is what he can do. He can blow the top off of it, and that just changes the defense on the other side and makes them a little bit more susceptible to being run on. When we look at the situation for the Houston Texans, though, they may have some great news if Nico Collins, one of their top wide receivers and now the number 1 wide receiver with their top wide receiver out for the year, if he can come back, 567 total yards and 8 touchdowns. He missed 5 games, folks. This guy's a beast. I've been saying it on the videos and my shows that I do, radio shows. This guy's an absolute beast, and he changes the offense, and boy, do they need him in there. He's got a good rapport with C.J. Stroud, and that helps the offensive line because he can make plays. And this just gives a little bit of an advantage to the Houston Texans to be able to hang in this game a lot longer, even though they seem to play all close games, especially at home. When we look at this matchup here, though, we can go to the crazy stats again of Jared Goff. And, when you're passing the ball for 73% on the season, that means you have to have something. And it's my most important trait in betting. That is having a great offensive line. And Detroit has the number 1 best offensive line in football. So There's other quarterbacks in the league that might not be doing what Goff is doing, but they would do very well if they had this offensive line. There's some offensive lines are so bad, including this Houston offensive line for the most part. They have a lot of talent, but the offensive line is their big weakness. Stroud's been sacked over 30 times. You can't have that. That just moves the chains back, and you're always in 3rd and 12 and 3rd and 14, and that's tough to do in the NFL. But for this game, again, his 6-game stretch, 83%. This is going to be his toughest stretch because, again, the number 3 pass defense of the Houston Texans, they have only allowed 167 yards passing a game and per game, and they have 29 sacks, 4th best in the league. Houston get at least one good boost if Anderson can't go, and that's that they'll get their safety, Jimmy Ward, back. And Jimmy Ward is a solid player. He's missed the last 5 games. So when we look at this situation, Detroit's offense is probably the most rounded in the league because of the passing of Goff and the solid 2-headed monster running back getting over 100 yards a game. They grind you. They just make it impossible to really overload one side or the other, and that's how they're able to get big chunks. And they're a risky team. They'll take chances, but they're flying high right now, so they can just take any chance that they want. They can lose a game. This is not a division game, so it's not the end of the world, but it's a big difference maker in how you call the plays, and the offensive line play calling has been fantastic by the Detroit Lions, Jacobson. And the other thing with that is that this team has a lot of trick plays in their bag. So, you never know what they're going to pull off, but they will try anything at any time in the game, and they're willing to go for it on 4th down and 3 at the 50. And that changes the perception of your team, because when your team knows you're going to do things like that, just gives a big boost. And when they make it, the momentum really swings in their favor. Some key stats, like I said, Houston is 4-0 at home. In those 4 games, the defense has really played fantastic football. It's a nice crowd there that they have, Houston, a good home field advantage. The defense has allowed 13, 20, 20, and 20, so they're pretty much like right in the 20-point range. If they hold Detroit to 20 in this game, they're going to win. The wins, though, have all been close. They have wins this year by 6, 4, 3, and 3. And again, when you're missing Will Anderson, what is his stats? 7.5 sacks, 11 tackles for loss. That's making a lot of big plays to the point where they're putting the other offense in deep position for 3rd and long, 2nd and longs. And again, they're hard to do in the NFL. So this is a game myself I couldn't bet due to the fact that I'm not sure at the time I'm taping this if Will Anderson's going to play or not. But the propensity of Houston playing a very close game here is probably pretty good, probably in the 75% range. I couldn't lay 3.5 points on the road, but I'm not going in front. I do not do this. That's why I'm one of the best in the world, winning it for 35 years. You don't go in front of a train that's moving full steam ahead, and that's what Detroit's doing right now. And they're not due to lose. A lot of people say, well, they're due to lose. I say it every week on videos and on the radio. You're never due to lose, and you're never due to win. It just doesn't work that way. When you're a great team, you're a great team for a reason. You have all the pieces, and Detroit's already went through the pieces last year. Progression, they're into the next stage. They're in the high level. They're a top 2 team in the league right now, so I wouldn't want to bet against them with the poorest offensive line of Houston. I got to see this offensive line for Houston pick it up before I'm going to really look to take a shot with Houston again this year. I like Stroud. I like Nico Collins coming back. Maybe Nico Collins is the difference maker just to give him a little bit more help, and that helps the offensive line a little bit. But for this game, I'm going to pass, but don't forget to check out my other videos. I will have a Monday night video up here shortly, and I will have an NFL Nuggets to watch video. Don't miss that one. That'll get you a little more help and get you prepared for this week. Week number 10 in the NFL. You've been listening to Gary Greene and Gary Greene Wins videos. And if you want to email me at any time with any questions, you can email me at garygreenwins@gmail.com. And Green has an E at the end, so it's garygreenwins@gmail.com. Have a great winning weekend, and make sure you never bet what you can't afford to lose, and do not bet parlays, folks.